First up is snowmobiles.
I think that's solved, huh?
I think it's solved. I think we've agreed that,
Well, and
let's confirm that.
well, Scott had sent an email to me about that, saying that Ryan had figured that they were gonna shut it off next year to snowmobiles on the sidewalk, but they would allow the snowmobiles on the street, on Lake Street. And that Ryan had agreed to snow blow the sidewalk there from the tannery. And I would like it if we could do that down, I'm not a member of Eagles, but I would like it if we could do it down to Eagles.
Snow blow it, you mean?
Yeah, the sidewalk. The tannery property goes all the way up to Swenson Park anyway, and then from there it's not very far.
I couldn't see that being a problem, really. I mean,
Maybe the Eagles can
You're already
take care of
gonna,
it.
yeah, you're already gonna be there. You're only
Yeah.
looking at probably another 100 yards, maybe.
yeah, you could probably take it all the way to the corner with
Well, there's a bike
Main
path
Street.
there, isn't there? Could you take
Yeah.
it to the bike path?
that's what they're talking about, blowing, snow blowing.
And then that bike path goes out to Millpond Point?
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
I don't know if people in general have any wish to walk out along that further out
In the winter?
towards Mill Pond in the winter. It's awfully darn cold, but
But there's,
somebody might want to.
the snowmobilers might be heading there to fish, maybe, or to walk to fish, I don't know.
So we're not gonna allow snowmobiles on the sidewalk or on the trail.
All you'd have to do is close that gate.
Close that gate. I
Right.
think
And
that's
then
the
you can
plan,
still
is to
walk
close
through
that
it.
gate.
Right.
You can still walk through it, and then they
But-
can just
but
snow
to,
blow it.
Didn't we say we could probably use some signage
Yes.
that, on the sidewalk that says
No
no snowmobiling?
Yeah.
Or no
That would be good.
snowmobiles on the sidewalk?
I think that might be the responsibility of the snowmobile group that puts signs up, directional signs. I would hope that they would have something there.
They could probably, if we asked them. They're usually
Well,
pretty-
it's
they're
you
pretty
can't
good about that.
snowmobile on any sidewalk in the whole city
Right.
Yeah.
right now anyway, so, I mean, you could put up 1,000 signs and you wanted to mark every sidewalk.
But the problem is you go from concrete to asphalt, because the one in front of the Eagles is asphalt.
Yeah,
So,
but
Well, that's what I
if
said
they can
before.
go on the road, they can,
It's more like a path than
then a
it
sidewalk.
is a sidewalk.
Yep.
It would not hurt to put, you probably already, Scott probably already does this, but just reminders in the winter newsletters and then the Facebook page. I know a couple times I zipped off my sidewalk because there were a little bit late at night and there were snowmobilers using the sidewalk behind me. So I quickly got off the sidewalk and let them have it. So it was a little scary, but we should we probably already do that, but if we could make it a little.
Just say I didn't get that close to you, come on.
He missed you. That's what he's saying.
Well, I'll
It wasn't me.
Okay, I know you wouldn't do that.
You know,
Jeff.
were they aiming at you or were they?
Oh, Steve, you would.
I don't have a snowmobile, so
I think-
it wasn't me.
They didn't see
I think
me.
we've got enough direction, Brenda.
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay. So next up is appointments, back at Kits. So, I don't know if the audience gets this, is this in the packet, Brenda?
Mm-hmm, yes.
So, but has the public seen this
The draft?
paragraph?
Oh, yes, that's all part
That's
of it.
available?
That's
Okay.
online. Mhm.
So I don't need to read that?
Nope.
Okay. So, at this point, my feeling is, I'm fine with changing to January to do the discussion on appointments. But as far as everything else, we've got a good system that's worked for many years. I'm fine with that system.
I would be happy to move on. I think it's been a good discussion. I think it's highlighted some things to think about. I think moving it to January is a good decision. I like the idea of kind of getting something basic and sticking with it for consistency, so that every 2 years we're not kind of tinkering with it and making it a little more complicated for folks. So I am fine with keeping it as is for now, moving on from the discussion. But also, like I've said before, civic education, I'd love to see us do city government 101, do a little town hall meeting, do city budgets 101. I think the more that we can expose people to city government that way, I think, and like I said too, a presentation about the boards every year, I'd like to draw people in that way. And I think that's good government.
I'm not fine with the way it is, and I would like to continue with where this is at and going through the filling in the blanks and either this one or this one. Just because you guys think it's worked fine for 20 years or 30 years or however long you think it's worked fine, I'm not satisfied with it. I don't think it works fine. I think the system's broken and it needs fixed.
I would like to
Would you?
take
okay,
it further
go ahead.
also. I would like to
just-
take it further also.
Okay, would you explain where you think it's broken? Because I don't see
All
that.
the things that are here to still discuss. How many committees you can be on, how long you can be on a committee, all the different things that are highlighted here.
I actually have, the thing is, we're looking at that written thing, and I've got 8 different issues that I think should be at least discussed, whether agreed to or changed or whatever. And that's a good, so we're gonna start the terms on, what was the first one that we just talked about?
January 31.
January 31, okay. Okay.
We got time to do this. It's not like we have to be in a hurry. That's
No.
the way I look at it.
So if the terms are gonna start January 31, when are the information sheets, applications need to be submitted? And when do we vote?
Well, that's one of the fill in the blanks, I believe, or select this or this.
I thought we decided the second meeting in January. Or I thought there was some consensus around that
But
date.
that's when the vote, I think, was going to happen, was the second
Yeah,
meeting
second,
in January.
yeah, see, yeah. So I'm okay with that.
And I think at least what I got from it, the biggest push was to start the process earlier so you have more time to look over the lists and perhaps have a work session prior to that, however you want to handle the discussion part of what really is open, or how you want to handle that. But that was what I got from it last time, is that we would start earlier.
That's kind of what I got too.
And that,
Like start talking about this right after the election, the first meeting after the elections. So if there's new people on the council, they would be involved in selections and also
right.
maybe being appointed to some board.
You'd have an opportunity to show your
Show
interest.
interest.
And I think going to that then, interest forms, we should always be collecting those, and you should always be recommending people if they ask how to do that process. So then at that point, we shout it out one more time, and what we have is what we have to work with at the time of, the opportunity to vote. I don't know if you want to have a work session, if that was something we discussed, I might have just made that up. But I do recall that you get elected in, one of the first things you get is, of course, here we are, you're on council, here's the boards and commissions, and you got, a couple months to look this over, and then we vote in January.
And like you said, as far as applications go, just put them in, because
Right.
tomorrow somebody might be gone and
Right.
decide to
It
resign
shouldn't
off the
be,
board,
yeah,
just-
right,
Just Take it.
steadfast deadlines
list
that
and-
should be always collected.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely.
But always reminders of it.
Yep.
That's when we're gonna vote on the nominations.
In
Right.
second meeting in January,
Right.
correct.
But like, I have no idea when, at this point, when the decision on those nominations was made. Last year.
That, so everybody that's there is locked in till their expirations are up. So the next one won't occur until November of,
Yeah, it technically,
26.
December, the end of December
Yeah.
technically of this year.
This year.
This year.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So every year you'll have a
Right.
handful, or half of them or so that are expiring. And
Right.
that's when those options come up.
So you knew when you were elected that in November or in December, we'd be deciding. You know now, in December, we'll be deciding. So you have from now
But-
until
but-
December to put your input
But
in.
when I talked on the first week of December last year, what I got from you was that it's already been decided. The nominations have already been made. So I'm saying, at what point are those nominations going to be made?
Those nominations come from when
It was early, well, we start looking at papers like in October, but Steve probably gets them early November. I mean, that's when the election is.
I get a list from staff saying, these are the individuals' terms that are expiring. Do you want to keep those people in that position? Based on, and then I look at those and ask the staff, are these people doing a good job? Should they stay in those positions? With the recommendation of the staff, I take that list and say, okay, then I present it to the council for a vote. That's
Okay,
how
but
it works.
But that's how it, well,
That's how it works.
but one of the issues that I have, I don't think they should automatically be renewed. I think every position should be up for a vote.
No,
And we have to have enough time, we have to have,
I don't agree with that, but
well, we could find out how many do, how many
we
don't.
can do that.
I mean,
Tom, we
It's not automatic.
But we
It
do,
it is automatic, 22 out of 22 last year.
but
But
That's
it's
pretty
not,
automatic.
it's not automatic in that it's not that they're not reviewed and discussed as
Well,
far as, are they,
oh,
is there
they're not.
any reason why they shouldn't be on there? Or have they voiced concern about continuing? Or, I mean, it's not like it's an automatic renewal. If they're not doing a good job, that would be certainly something that we would want to address. But if they
I
are,
don't- yeah.
I mean, I'll repeat one thing that, and I'm gonna be quiet, I promise. There is the advantage of experience. I know you wanna bring new people in all the time, but once you learn what the board, how it functions, all the laws, rules, bylaws, all that stuff, I mean, you might not be experienced within either a 2 or 4 or 3 year period, and it might be beneficial to keep them. So sure, some are newbies, and it takes a little while to understand it, but you don't always want to make those decisions just because, you want to always constantly be turning it over. And those aren't made that way. We're not, oh, let's keep them going. It's always looked at.
and it does change because council changes and some of the, for example, I was on the Solid Waste Authority, and then when I was off council, I wasn't, so there was somebody new on there, but I've served on Fire Authority, Solid Waste Authority, Planning Commission, and I really valued the fact that there were people there who had institutional knowledge.
Well, sure.
And
And I'm not saying they'll have to be overturned.
yeah,
but
but I
think
do,
everybody should be evaluated.
well, I think everybody is. I think we look at it, and I think, and I've served with a diversity of people, with a diversity of views, and sometimes, especially on planning, somebody might get upset with a decision about an ordinance or different things like that, but I think from what I remember being on for 10 years, people did their best. I think Steve and we were on several master plan revision committees and reviewing our ordinances, and that experience is valuable for people to go through. So I think Chris Mahoney was with that. So I value that, and that's why I'm just saying I like the consistency. I think if people are interested in participating in a certain board. Myself, if I were to vote yes on that appointment, I probably would like to have seen that person attending. You know, if it's TIFA, if it's, one of the various boards, I'd like to see some evidence of interest before plopping somebody who's been attending for 5 years off to make room for somebody who's interested at the moment. I'd like to see people make a commitment before. So anyway, I'm kind of in favor of keeping some level of consistency with the process, and so people know what to expect, and so we have the value of that institutional knowledge. So that's where I'm at.
I think that the problem comes in when we get a slate of 22 people come up for a yes or no vote, and there's no looking at, so you either vote, if there's somebody you don't personally approve of that's being nominated, then you gotta vote down the whole slate. And then how are you gonna get to the one person that is disagreeable as far as 1, 2, 3, whatever number of council members has a problem with? Are you gonna go through them one by one at that time, then? Do you have to vote down the whole slate in order to make a change?
I think I've heard somebody when I was on before, Jeff, maybe,
I think,
who said
Yeah,
that
you can poll,
yeah,
you can just ask to have one or more
Yeah.
people removed from the
slate.
from the slate and vote on them separately.
I
You'd
think
have to
that
make a
happened.
That happened last time, I believe,
That's what happened last time.
Oh,
in December.
We went through that. I presented a list, and there was a call for one person not to be on that list, and we separately voted on that individual. So that's certainly, I have no problem with that.
mhm.
I mean, if there's someone on, any time a list is submitted, individual council members have a problem with that person, we can always vote on it.
I guess
This
I
isn't-
don't
this
remember,
isn't a-
but I'm kinda old.
I think it was a motion that didn't get second. I don't even know if it got voted on, but it was brought up to pull somebody off. You can always do that.
I do think that the boards need to have some sort of a term limit. I think the institutional memory is good, but that doesn't mean we keep people on for 30 years. I mean, even council, we have a lot of learning curve to be on council, and we still have term limits. So it doesn't mean you can't come off and come back on, but I think we need to do that. And I think we need the information sheets for people to be collected all the time. We as council people need to encourage people to understand what the boards are and express interest in a written form, so that when that process happens where we're looking at somebody wants to come off, somebody's term expires, and we need somebody to fill those spots, we have a pool of people to look at. I don't think we have talked enough about limiting the number of boards a person can be on. I still think that's important. So I would like to see us continue the discussion on a more formal policy. Maybe we take one piece and talk about it at a meeting instead of trying to talk about all of it at one time. We're just not getting anywhere effectively. We don't have a rush, like Steve said, but I think we could make better progress if we maybe picked up one or two of the pieces and went through it at a work session.
I don't understand why we just can't follow this outline that we were given and go down and say our opinions. I mean, it's written either or. Everybody can give their opinion and then you move down to the next one.
I'm gonna agree with Scott on this, and
I mean,
Debbie, we
this is-
should look at.
This is the
just go
fourth
through the
time.
list.
This is the fourth time we've been bringing this up, and the only thing we've got resolved out of it after having it on 4 work sessions is that we moved it from the end of December to the end of January. That's the only thing we've accomplished.
And that's why I suggested let's just pick a piece and talk about each one and not try to talk about everything all at once. We're not making progress.
True.
We can certainly break up the policy and pick the next 2 or 3, have them on there, so you review all of your opinions about it beforehand and know where you stand and ready to make suggestions, and we can schedule it that way, or we can start with one and a couple of them, whichever you're comfortable with,
And
however you want
Start
to do
right
it.
now with the next paragraph if you
Well, to
want.
Scott's point of picking, you know, they're kind of laid out now as
Yeah.
a pick or choose, but we might have other things we want to add to it, and it might not be as simple as pick this one or that
Yeah,
one. So
I understand
that's why I
that.
say, you know, if you want to work on one now, schedule them out. I'm good either way. I think we need to continue to work on it.
Well, the next one up is limited to no more than how many full terms, so we could address that right now. And maybe take care of another one tonight and then go to the next one.
I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not, that,
I would, as much
Where
as
does
I've made
everybody stand?
my opinion known, if we're gonna be doing all of them, I would rather go one by one. I don't think there is any hurry, so just put it on the work session and, because we might have some different ideas about it, so.
I'll make a suggestion on the consecutive terms, and being as terms range from 2 to 5 years, maybe we should just put 10 years as the maximum, and then somebody's off, or maybe on some other board for a little while, and maybe they come back on that board after a while. You know, it can always work that way too.
Scott's
That'd be
not
my
here,
suggestion.
I'll ask Will, is there any particular reason why some of the committees have 2 years, and some of them have 3 years, and some of them have 5 years?
I think some of them are directed by, that's the term in some place, but no, I don't know that there's necessarily, you'd have to look at
I
each
mean,
one
that's
individually.
that's the part that makes it confusing as far as wanting a term limit goes.
Yeah, you could, I mean, you could end
know,
up with,
if you take a 2-year one and you say it's, you know, and you want a term limit at 3 years, somebody's only getting 6 years to serve.
right,
Where, you know, you take the 5-year one and somebody's getting to serve for 15 years. It just,
yeah, no,
it seems to me like if there's no legal reason why,
There
Some-
definitely are like structures in each of the, you know, planning has a certain set. It's not just, it's been randomly selected that we think this would be a good one. There's
I think-
structures to each of those committees. And like Election Compensation Commission, I mean, they meet once every 2 years, so, and their term is like, 5 years. So they're all different, you know, and so that, your point is spot on. It's difficult because they're all different, but you can't really necessarily make them a consistent number just to make the, you know, term limits easier. So it's a little, yeah, I mean, you could certainly pick a number.
can we set it by number of years? Instead of number of terms, just a
Sure.
number of years?
yeah, I think.
Yeah, that'd probably
Let's
be
do,
easier.
yeah,
Although if you have
no
2
longer
to
than
3.
15 years.
5, lowest common denominator.
And maybe having
15.
the boards and commissions list and
That
and
would
the
be
term limits
20.
on each of them might help you as we go through this too, seeing how, and how different they are, you know, the different ranges.
Or
on
we
each
can
one.
match it up with what the council has, is what, 12 years?
12 years. Mhm.
And, but then if somebody
The
had
5-year terms.
3 5-year
Yeah.
terms,
Right,
well, you just have to do it 15 for that group then, I guess, or something.
yeah, I mean, you could go through and set the term limit for each different board, which is, that's a lot, but.
Well, and it is, you know, some of the, you know, the Solid Waste Authority is a legally, you know, constituted authority that has its own, you know.
Right.
Right, that's what I'm
Statements.
saying, some of them
Yeah.
might
Some of
not
them
be
have
able to
to.
change. And you have to
Yeah,
do
and and it all depends, like, for example, you know, when I was on the Solid Waste Authority, when I was on council, term didn't matter, because when I'm not on council, I'm not on the Solid Waste Authority, so there's other considerations. Same with the council member who's or the mayor who's the member of planning, you know. So, yeah, it just, I still don't see it as necessary if we do a good job of encouraging people to put their places in. And then if we ask people, do you still want to be on? Some people probably are like wanting to be off. So I don't know. I think I'm not still understanding what problem we're trying to address with term limits if we're doing our job properly on a regular basis. It just seems like an unnecessary discussion. Because, I mean, have we had people on for 30 years?
I don't think so.
TIFA was
Yeah.
close, wasn't it?
I'm
Was
pretty
it
sure.
TIFA?
Who would that be?
Dr. Boss was on for, because I think we did an award for him. I
Mhm.
mean, it has happened, yeah.
Seems rare, though. I mean,
Yeah,
it seems
it
like
is.
a,
I mean, that's a long time.
yeah, it just seems like an unnecessary rule if we've had it happen one time in our memory. So, I mean, if people want it, that's, you know, I just feel like it's one less thing we could be as particular about.
So we didn't do very well at working through that one.
I guess the toughest part is getting consensus on whether or not you want to change that particular one. Like, so I've heard Tandy say, no, I don't think it's a problem. How many else think it's a problem? I know Scott Brown does, Sikinga probably does. I don't know. So I think that's where we need to see if we have enough people thinking we should change it or not.
To make a blanket number of years or terms is difficult. It might be that we'd have to do like Will says, to just go through each seat and see if it's applicable
Yeah.
versus, you know, like the Solid Waste Authority. It's not really something that we could change.
Well, fire authority.
Fire Authority, right.
Yeah.
I think it might be something where the best thing is just to go through and look at each individual committee or board.
You could always run into the problem of, you got an opening on the TIFA board because of a term limit, but there's nobody that wants to do it. Other than the guy who's gonna leave. So then what do you do? The person that's gonna leave might be the only available person then, so how do you handle that?
They're not really glamorous positions. And-
No,
and
not
we-
really, most
Yeah,
of them.
yeah. And they're not high paid either. Pay is low.
I'm certainly gonna weigh in, and I don't support any term limits. I don't think we've had any problem with any of the council's boards or commissions as far as any malfeasance or poor performance. I think that, as I said, the system's working fine the way it is.
And if there has in the past, they've self-righted themselves.
Right.
I mean,
They've
I
left.
can't do the time, I don't.
Right, we've had that.
Yeah, we've had that. Hey, I can't give the time anymore, and
Yeah.
they've stepped down. I mean,
Mhm.
people, for the most part, are
But then
usually,
you gotta find somebody.
yeah, that's the other problem.
That's,
Honestly, we
The other
should be
problem
giving
with
them
not having any
opportunities.
term
It's not
limits
easy
is
work.
if you have somebody that wants to be on a committee and you renominate everybody that's already on that committee and there's no openings, then nobody new can get on it.
Right.
And you're running the same board and the same committee with the same people for 10, 15, 20 years, and I think that needs to change. It needs to have new blood in it all the time,
and they're doing the same good job that they've been
Oh,
doing.
in your opinion.
Well, in your opinion, they're not.
Correct.
So we're in a disagreement there.
Okay.
I mean, do we really want to spend all of our time on this? We do have a lot of things to, you know, there's a lot of city business.
If everybody,
It's what's on the agenda to work on.
Okay, we've been talking about it.
Yeah. I mean, this
If
is, like
we-
I said, this is the fourth meeting we've talked about it and we've gotten absolutely nowhere.
If
Because
we-
some of you don't want to change it and some of us do.
We could be at a standstill.
if we have,
Take a vote on each one.
if we in the council have applications or information sheets to look at, and we can have, I mean, if we can look at your nomination and turn it down and select from the next applications, that's what I think we need to do.
You have, that. You did that this past December, you did that. The exact thing that you're asking for, you did.
No, because when I asked about about my information about being able to get on the board, you had already made the decision, the nomination. True that at that point I hadn't submitted a paper, but that's what I was asking. That's why I was asking. I just think
Well, then
I think there needs to.
look at changing the charter, because that's what it's
No,
gonna
the charter
require.
says you make a nomination and we approve
Okay,
or opt to approve or
that's
whatever.
right.
It doesn't mean that we have to change. we can turn down your nomination.
Yes, you can.
And vote somebody else.
Yes, you can.
Right. So you don't need to change the charter.
So we don't need to change the system, because it's in function just fine.
No.
It's always been done.
I guess the way I'm looking at it, guess the way I'm looking at it is we need to break each one of these down and vote on them as a group.
Which is what I was,
Which is
what I was
where we're gonna need to go,
suggesting, and
because
this-
somebody's not gonna be happy. There's never gonna be everybody happy at this table with the decision, and it's gonna have to go to a vote.
Right.
And that's the way it's gonna have to be. That's what I see.
Maybe we ought to set a goal of doing 3 of them at each work session, you know? We have work session once a month. Let's see how many of these blanks fill in here, or if somebody's got something else. We'll try to do 3 at each work session. I mean, we can't spend a whole hour every work session on this.
Maybe we
So-
set a time limit for each work session, is only we're gonna talk about it for 20 minutes, or we're never gonna get anything else discussed.
That's not a bad idea.
And we can't necessarily vote
We can't
on
make
each
decisions.
one.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, we can't make
So-
motions and vote here, so it will have to be the completed procedure policy. So we're gonna have to find a way to get consensus on.
There's no way to take each one as a thing and move it to council.
No, you can take it and then move it to council.
Yeah.
You just
Move it to
can't
the
vote.
regular
You just can't
council, and then we
vote
can
here.
vote on them. I mean,
Yeah,
we're
right.
voting on call them articles.
Yeah,
Article
no,
one,
no, yeah,
Article
you just
2,
can't vote here,
Yeah,
and vote in the
just
next.
move them.
Yeah,
Yep, we discussed it, move it along, because like I
Yeah.
said, otherwise we're gonna sit
I'm
here
okay
and
with
spin our wheels.
Or we could, you know, say, okay, we agree on this number for this blank, and we'll put that on the next council meeting.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Right.
Yeah, call it an article, first one, and whatever, like I said, just move it along, whatever term we wanna use. And then just move it to the council meeting and do a vote and see where it flies, see where it ends up. Because otherwise, like I said, we're just sitting there spinning our wheels, and
True.
everybody's got their own opinions, and that's the way it's gonna sit, so.
All right. So is that what we want? We want to move 2 or 3 of them to the next council meeting for a vote?
Sounds
Is
good.
that what we're agreeing on?
I would say we set a time limit. So if we get through 2 of them and, you know, we set 15 or 20 minutes, we get through 1, okay, or even if we don't get through it, rather than to keep going with, I mean, look at how long we've talked about 1. I think we need a time limit.
So
That could
after
help
20,
us.
after 20 minutes,
After
we
20
move it
minutes,
to council.
we move on
Move
to
it
the
to the
next,
council meeting.
we move on
Yeah.
to the next subject,
vote.
or if we're not, if we agree that we're finished talking about it, we move it to council. If we still need to continue, then we, next work session, another
Yep.
15
That
minutes.
will work.
And if there's no agreement to put something in that blank space, then we just leave it as is.
Oh, we can figure that
Yeah.
out too, yeah.
All right with that? Are we ready to move on to the next discussion? I believe so. TIFA spending. Once again, Mr. Brown.
Yeah, pretty much says it right there on the piece of paper. Councilman Brown is concerned about the spending practices without oversight of the city council other than their annual budget. I don't like the way TIFA spends money. I don't like the people that are running the TIFA thing, because I think too many of them have been there for too long. They're spending money on things that I think are ridiculous, and they're spending ridiculous amounts of money on things. And I think that we should have a way to approve or deny what they want to spend their money on, other than just their annual budget.
They're an authority that have that authority to spend that money. That
That's
authority
what
is
I'm
given
saying.
by the council.
That's what I'm saying, that I want changed. I would like to see it be no different than any other spending. Brenda, do you know off the top of your head what the limit is that can be spent without prior approval of the council, or is it 15,000 or 25,000?
Boy, that's not at the top of my head. I do know we need like bids or things if we're going 10 grand, but I don't know. And those typically come back to you for, you know, in a resolution. So It's around where you're talking.
Yeah, so, you know, I mean, you know, when TIFA approves to spend $300,000+ to make a pocket park, I don't agree with that. So if they would have had to have brought that before the council to get it approved, I don't think we'd be building a pocket park right now.
I do have a
We're
question.
building
I do have a question.
replacement bathrooms. That's the biggest share of that
But we-
expenditure. There is a need for that.
Oh, I do have a question. Brenda, do you remember, I know at times Steve and I were on a committee where we were looking at downtown redevelopment, right before the Colby Street improvement, because we thought if they were making this improvement and going through the downtown, were there other things that made sense for us to do as well? And maybe, you know, I'm just wondering what happened to those plans, because I do think I would like to have a little more knowledge of what they're gonna be doing, even though I understand their authority, but I wonder if some of these things have been approved at other times through some of our planning documents.
Well, it's very possible there's discussions happening prior to the decisions being made, just like there are here at council. And maybe it's more of an awareness thing, I'm not sure, but I get what you're saying.
Well, I know that we came up and we actually had bids on
It was in I think it was phase 3.
Phase 3, yeah.
I was sitting, I sat on that
You
as
were
well,
on
so-
council,
Yeah,
yeah.
I sat, it was myself and Brian and I think Chris Mahoney, there was quite a few of us that were in that group, I remember.
Yes.
I think you were in that as well. But yeah, we looked at the phase 3 and made recommendations.
Well, what happened with those?
They all got put in.
Okay. But
As
I,
council,
Well, the
we
majority
said
of
as
them got put in. There was some
council.
stuff that didn't get done, but we just.
but we
the-
did approve that. Okay. I'm just wondering, I'm just trying to remember, I was, you know, when I was on, because we did have all kinds of meetings, we took tours around the downtown, we looked at parking lots and viewscapes, and, you know, we actually had somebody come up with plans for us based
Yeah,
on,
we had a big plan that said over. the-
yeah, based on what we were, kind of our research walking around, and what if we could do this, and what if we could do that, you know?
Debbie, you probably had the same thing with the North Mirrors, didn't you? Something similar to that, so.
And North Mears was actually part of that.
Yeah, right.
You know,
Yeah.
so, and you're right, it was an expensive, the entire initiative was expensive, so I think we were starting to take off pieces of it.
Moving it towards the next phase.
Yeah. So I do think, Scott, some of these things did have some council approval, but it was quite a years, you know, it was in their past, you know.
Yeah. 15, 20 years ago, the council approved to do a certain thing, and probably nobody is on the council anymore that approved that.
Well, me and
Oh, I
the
mean, that
three
was
of us,
just a.
it wasn't
say, that
that long
long
ago, we're
I
not
mean,
that
it was-
old, Scott.
What have we been, the bathroom thing, what have we been paying to lease the bathroom that's currently used?
I believe it's like $144 a month,
Yeah.
something to that effect.
So for $144 a month, we're gonna spend $100 and how many thousand dollars to add a bathroom of our own, which also has $8,000 to $8,500 a year in maintenance. That's what I'm
Who says
opposed to
that?
with the pocket park.
We're
That
not saying
number went up,
that number that's $8,500 to.
because that's what we're
maintain a
planning for the
bathroom.
others. So I'm using that as an
Oh,
estimate.
okay.
That's what the one at the baseball field is, that's what the
Okay.
one at
All right.
somewhere else is.
I think the baseball field would be getting significant more usage than this one in this location.
Well, then, why, I don't,
So-
see, that's the thing that Scott's, I think, that Scott's talking about, that's what bothered me, is that at a meeting, what was it, 3 months ago, something like that, it was announced that the cost, the way I remember it anyway, it was announced that the cost for the pocket park had gone up from $180,000 thereabouts to $330,000, primarily because we're adding a bathroom. For a couple $1,000s a month, a couple $1,000s a year to lease the one that we're doing now and replace that,
Doesn't make sense.
paying 4 times that much just for maintenance, that doesn't make sense. That's the issue with the TIFA money. I think that Scott's talking about, that's the way I feel about it. That is not money well spent in my opinion.
But the issue with the TIFA is you gotta understand, it's an authority, it's captured tax from them to spend on that area. You gotta understand what an authority is and what an authority can do, and if they don't spend that money, it goes it passes through to all the other places. It can't be, some of it passes through to the city, but the fire authority get a chunk, the library gets a chunk, the veterans get a chunk. Whatever's left, like what Scott explained, goes back to the other taxing jurisdictions. All they do is they capture that. It doesn't get sent.
Why can't they grant it back to the city?
Right.
I don't think they
But-
can, we'd have
It's
to,
not.
It's not in
But we're,
Yeah,
but we're
it's
spending, but we're spending
That's what LDFA
$100,000.
does to give $100,000 to the Playhouse.
It's part of what they're, the group, so if it's a TIFA, that's a certain portion of the city saying it's LDFA. So they're, have the money collected for certain areas, for those improvements in those areas.
But we're spending $100,000 for a bathroom that is going to basically quadruple our maintenance cost over the cost of the rent.
numbers are wrong.
I don't,
Yeah,
I don't know where
numbers
they're-
they
I'm
are.
going by the
Close.
estimates that have been shown for the
Yeah,
other
I think those
bathrooms.
are yeah, I don't think that's accurate at all.
Who,
So-
who maintains the bathroom? The sketch mark?
It's the,
No,
no, it's the one
Oh, it's
behind
the
the
other
Arts
one.
Council.
It's Arts
It's
Council.
the
Oh, the
Arts
Arts
Council.
Council,
Yeah.
okay. And do they maintain it and everything?
Okay. Yeah. So as far as the burden goes to them, I mean, again, they've got other stuff to do than unlock and lock bathrooms, quite honestly. I mean, it belongs to us, this would belong to us, just like every other bathroom that's belongs to the city. I'm not, yeah, it's just one less thing that they do not need to be tasked to do.
Well, would it be open
We're still gonna be
24/7
opening and
then?
closing it most
Well,
days. It'll be open all the
It'll be
time.
open all the time, just like Goodrich and
Okay.
everything else, I would assume.
We lock up Goodrich and Funnel Field.
Do you lock up Goodrich and Funnel every night? Really?
So
We had
there you
So
go.
somebody's gotta pee at night there on their own.
To try and save a few broken toilets, it's working.
Okay, all right.
Well, the parks are closed to a certain time.
Yeah,
too,
10
so.
o'clock, that's right, so I guess.
I mean, a bathroom is only one thing that I don't like about this TIFA spending, so, I mean, it's just one example. But I just don't agree with, I don't agree with much of anything that they've spent money on for probably almost since I've been on council. I mean, I just,
Would it be possible for us to get a list of their projects before, in enough time to at least have input? Steve, is that something?
I mean, now's the time we're looking at it because it's in this budget for next year's stuff, so we just
Do
need
we
to
know
ask the
what
question.
projects there are?
We need to ask the question,
Okay.
as far as I'm concerned.
Scott did recommend, I'm sorry to cut you off.
Go ahead.
Scott did recommend that he felt that this would be a good, the budget work session would be a good opportunity to talk more about the TIFA spending and then
that's
you could
really
dig
the role
deeper
of
into
the
it.
council really is in the budget setting.
Right.
That's really what, because they are separate and
Yep.
distinct
Mhm.
entity that's got its own rules and money to spend.
Right.
So that's really
By
the city's
statute.
authority is to the budget.
Right, and that's how you
No
prove it,
different
is
than
through
a
that
DDA
budget
or any
process.
other thing.
Right.
It's by
But
statute.
it would be good to get a list of projects prior to that.
And that would be part of the budget process too. When you get the budget, you see like what the goals are, the plans are underneath that budget, what projects are. And if they're not in the budget papers, that's what Scott presents on the presentation. He'll say, these are the highlights of what will be happening here, or, you know, the clerk wants to spend this much money on tables for elections, or, you know, that type of thing. You'll get those highlights about what's going to happen with those
Is
parts
it
of the budget.
possible to get some of that a lot earlier? I mean, we get our packets like Friday and then we've got Tuesday. That's not always a lot of time to, you know, to consider, you know, some of these things. But I'd like a list of the TIFA projects they're planning, if they have it now for, you know, the next year.
Should be all part of the budget process, I would imagine, so.
Do you
And I think
think,
that's why Scott says that best place to talk about it is there.
is that something that's publicly available, or should be?
It will be, I mean, once you guys got your budgets tonight, so that will go on the website presentation that Scott gets as soon as I get it. I put that up on the website as well.
That will be when?
And the TIFA meetings are public meetings.
Yeah.
And I can say as a member of TIFA, I very, very seldom see any public there, let alone council members.
I don't think, I know Scott doesn't like this word, so good thing he's not here, but I don't think it would hurt for them to be a little more transparent, though.
The transparency's there. The
Yeah.
meetings are public,
Yeah.
the agendas are public. It's, what more transparency do you want?
What I would like is what they're working on in the upcoming year. And I'd like
Attend
it
the
early,
meetings.
so I can go to a meeting and I can ask them.
Yes, just like anyone can step up to this podium and ask us anything.
I know what you're saying, but I'm saying as a member of council, these are big projects, I
Yes.
agree, and maybe we have agreed with them on past, but I don't see why, if they are planning projects for the next budget year, that they're not available right now. And I shouldn't have to go to a meeting to ask for that.
Not as a
You shouldn't.
council, I mean, you should be,
Yeah.
that should be coming to us as,
Yeah.
I mean, we do approve the budget, I get that, we say that, okay, you have this much money, but whether it's gonna go to a specific set of bathrooms, that we don't have any input or,
We could let them know what we think.
we certainly
And we
could,
should.
but I think having that information coming to us earlier than
Yeah. I would like
after the
that.
drawings are
And-
already made is a
Yes.
little too
And as
late.
far as transparency goes, I would say that's an issue that we could take a list of those projects and put that in the quarterly water bill. That would be transparent. People could
It would
see
be
it
more
without.
transparent.
Yeah.
It would not be the end.
Right, be more transparent.
Well, it would be helpful, to members of the public as well, who, not everybody has the option of going to those meetings, so if the more that, some of these big projects especially, are better known, I think we'd have better reception.
Well, I think it's a good thing that TIFA should present to council what they would like to do with their money, that the council decides how much is going there. So the council is involved, and there is transparency there, and the budget is the place to talk about this. That's coming up Monday.
Well, Steve, can we at least make a specific request for if they have projects next year, just to see them in advance? At least a list of what they're gonna be working on? I don't know why that's so hard to.
I don't think there's an intentional withholding of any information.
No, and I
by
didn't
them.
say
I
that.
think-
Did I say that?
I didn't say that. What I'm saying is,
I don't see any reason why they can't, TIFA can't say, this is what we want to do in the next year. That's a reasonable request, I'm fine with that.
okay. Do you want me to make it?
I've written it down.
Oh, thank you. Because I'm happy to speak up as well.
So with that, we're at the point where we need to offer up public comment. If there's anyone who'd like to make a comment, step up, podium, give your name, and restrict your comments to 3 minutes, please.
Well, I'm Jerry, and I think everybody here knows me. Everybody can hear me now. This is great, you've got this microphone on. I can think of nothing, and I mean nothing, more undemocratic than to go to staff and say, is Joe doing a good job, and is Sally doing a good job, and we're gonna nominate them. That precludes the possibility that Fred out here could do a better job. But he doesn't get consideration, because the only way he can run is if there's an opening on the board. So if it's democratic process, and you're elected, and we expect you to do a democratic process when you do your appointments, then you would take everyone in that set of people who would like to be on, and all of the incumbents. But this automatic approval of incumbents is just baffling to me, absolutely baffling. And for someone to defend it is even more baffling, because it shows me that there's no insight and there's no planning. So the way the system is, it's going to discourage a new applicant. Tom, you wanted to be on the board. Do I understand right that you missed the opportunity to apply for a board?
Well,
I'm not sure.
I was nominated
This is,
in November 8 last year, and I communicated in the first week of December, and it was too late.
Yeah, it's precisely my point. Precisely my point. Because the decisions had already been made unilaterally by whom?
this is not a question and answer session. This
Okay,
is a-
that's all right. I have the floor,
You
Mayor,
have,
Mr.
you
Mayor.
have
I have
one
the
minute.
floor, excuse
You
me.
have 1 minute.
I know who unilaterally made the decision. I know, I'm asking a rhetorical question, because everyone on this board knows the answer too. If this is a democratic process, all of the incumbents are up for re-election or reappointment, call it whatever you want, every 2 years or 5 years or whatever your term is. But anybody out there in the general public is also included in that set of people that you have to consider. Because there might be somebody who's way more qualified, even though this other person is doing a good job. And I'm not saying we need to take anyone off from any board. I'm not saying I know of anyone that's doing a bad job. I don't. But there might be someone else that could do a better job that has a lot more to offer. So that's a consideration.
All right, thank you for your.
No, I'm not done.
You've
I have
had your 3 minutes.
I have one more point.
Make it.
Yeah, TIFA. To say that anyone can attend a TIFA meeting is a joke, and I'll tell you why. You have a whole set of people out here who have jobs, and they have to report to work. So for them to attend a TIFA board meeting at noon means they have to take time off from work. Now, I can't help but wonder if this isn't by design. You don't have anybody showing up because the people who would really be interested, whom are really affected, can't come. And further, one more point. The point, coming to a TIFA meeting and making a public comment is, I might as well go out there and stand in the street and yell at the top of my lungs, because it makes no difference. You've already made your decisions on everything that's on your agenda. I apologize if I've been harsh or too abrupt. Thank you for your time.
Anyone else? Step up.
I don't know if this is like the appropriate part of the meeting to address the,
This is public comment.
Is this work session or is this
This
council?
is
or-
work session, this is not council.
Is council,
Council
That's
is
next.
next.
and there's a public comment?
Yeah, there's 2 public comments and
Well, can I pass out, I got some information here from your master plan to do with the White River front clearing that we've talked about.
is there any way that I can let you pass those out? And
Give you a minute to each get a copy. Right off your website.
You want these back or?
Yeah. If there's extras, I didn't know how many to bring, so I make sure I got enough. Okay, anyway, based on the master plan, 2030 master plan, which if this isn't the current one or whatever, I apologize, but it's gotta be close. things haven't changed around White River area there for quite a while, so I figured it's probably the same. Accessibility. And it reads that each recreation area of the city has a certain level of accessibility. And if you turn the page, Cola Park is listed as accessibility 4. And that says the entire park meets ADA accessibility guidelines. The entire park. Every square inch of the park? Is that what entire means? And under Cobble Park tells us where it's located, which we all know, with ADA compliant access to the water and fishing pier. Are those separate? Those, to me, those, the way they're listed there, that's separate. The fishing pier is ADA accessible, and the water is ADA accessible. Really? The entire length of the water frontage? Everywhere there's water touching that land? Hello?
As I said, this is not a question and answer, this is a statement.
That's convenient.
Okay, thank you for your comments.
I'm not done yet.
We have to adjourn to move on to the next meeting.
Well, I just got the additional information there is
We can read this after the fact, thank you.
An aerial view that says access to White River. Right on the aerial view there, City of Whitehall. It's off your website. And then there's a picture of the actual water frontage.
We're adjourned.
You see that?
We're done. Sit down.
Should I have another topic? Can I state my other topic?
At the next meeting.
At the next meeting.
We're meeting right now.
We're gonna meet. I call this meeting to order. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, first up is approval of the agenda.
I'll move for the approval of the agenda for May 14, 2024.
Second.
Been moved in second. Is there any discussion? All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Opposed say no. Next is the consent agenda. The motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as submitted.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Or any questions?
I have one question. On accounts payable, page 4 of 7, Parsons, I don't remember what exactly, for $1,294.81. It says zero-turn mowers, quantity 3, blades sharpened, OI.
There was not enough room, but oil change, repair, maintenance type things, getting them ready for the season.
Okay. That's all I had. I just wanted to make sure we weren't spending $1,300 to sharpen blades on 3 lawnmowers.
Anyone else? All right. All those in favor of the consent agenda say yes.
Yes.
Opposed say no.
No,
Consent agenda is approved. Next up, messages from the mayor, city council, city manager. No city manager today. So let's start with council. Tanya.
Okay, couple quick things. One, I'm glad to see that we did apply for the Restart expert assistance, free expert assistance on sustainability, so glad to see that that happened. And then just 2 quick things. One, when I was on council before, we had quite a few trees taken down during the Colby, MDOT's redo of Colby. And at that point, we had a whole lot of people concerned about trees. People in Whitehall like their trees, and I had asked if we could be alerted when we had maybe a significant amount of trees being taken down, and I would like to send that along to Scott, that if we're having, if there's trees that are dying, yes, that's fine, but if we're having a whole bunch of trees taken down somewhere, I would like to be alerted, and I'd like to also be alerted in enough time that we could, make sure that those trees really do need to get down, for whatever reason. So, when we have 200 trees, they shade our neighborhoods, they make the character of our neighborhoods, and they also hold a lot of carbon. We always talk about planting trees, for climate change. Well, it's gonna take them 100 years to do the same thing. So I would just like to send that along to Scott, that if there are trees being taken down in a park, along the street, let us know, so at least when we're out wandering around the community and people ask us about it, that we know what's going on, and we can tell them that these were trees that needed to go down. So, and then just one other thing, just going forward, also, if we could kind of be alerted to when things happen, like the change in the cruising, if we could be alerted, so that, that doesn't just hit Facebook and we're not aware of it and may not have had a chance to impact that. I gather, I can see the reasons that the change was made, and I'm not really talking about that as just kind of the rollout about the decision, so.
Was that the decision made by Chamber?
That
Chamber of Commerce?
cruising parade decision was made by the cruising committee. They made that public on Facebook.
I didn't see the committee. I saw that it was.
Committee decision.
Okay, then I apologize. I saw something that came, well, regardless, I think that the decision still stands if we, if that's something that happens in our community, it would be helpful to know in advance. But I thought it was the two police chiefs.
No,
No.
it was the committee.
It
You
was
were
the committee.
I'm
unfairly.
on that committee,
Oh, okay, okay.
but
The committee
there's a reason
decided
for it.
to make that decision, and the committee, it was their decision how and when to release that information to the public.
Okay. Well, maybe
The city
we,
had absolutely zero input on that.
well, that's what I'm saying. I think, given that this is a
But
long-standing.
being a private committee, we have no say telling them what they can do.
I do think if we are a participant and have any involvement, and a
Our-
sponsor.
Our involvement is allowing them permission,
Do we sponsor it? Do we provide them with money?
not to my knowledge,
I don't think so.
Are we a sponsor?
not to my knowledge.
I thought we were.
Okay, well, regardless, whatever we are, it happens in our community. I mean, this is just my view on it. It happens in our community. And I noticed a lot of people blaming the city of Whitehall Council. And I'm like, well, that's one thing that I didn't vote on. But, I just think it would be helpful to chat with the committee, and ideally, I'd like to see a way for the parade to continue, even though I'm aware of the problems. But I think at the very least, my complaint was the rollout, and I know it is hard to get to people, but gosh, it'd be nice if city council, the city of Whitehall, the parade starts here, right over here. It'd be nice if we had been alerted to what was happening, to at least anticipate the reaction from our community, so.
Okay. Yep.
I was going to just say I was disappointed about the cancellation of the parade, and the questions that I got, I was unable to answer a lot of questions. Nobody's fault. It's just I was disappointed, and hope, like Tanya, that there's a way we can reinstate it at some point. And I don't know what that looks like, but that we as city council didn't have anything to do with that decision. But I was disappointed to see it canceled.
It's not the council's decision
Right.
to reinstate it or to take it
No,
away.
I didn't say that, I just said that I hope we can, not
Yeah.
as a council
Yeah.
position. but-
I do think last year there was somebody that was pretty dangerous,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
so I don't know how to control that. I know they tried last year, coming around and warning people not to. Anyway.
Tom, is that all you have?
Yeah, that's all.
I have a question that I don't know if there's any truth to it or not, but did we run afoul of MDOT with the placement of Harwood Flats building? I heard something to that effect. I don't know if there's truth to it or not.
I didn't hear what you said. What was the first part?
Did we run afoul with MDOT?
With Harwood being too close to their wall down there?
I haven't heard anything about that.
They were, all the authorities were involved at every step of the way. So they weren't, there's no way they were gonna put a building there without
Okay.
approvals from, I'm sure MDOT had a say in it being as close as it is.
Okay.
There was discussion over who owned that wall.
Yeah. Okay. That's all I had.
Jeff?
Just something for Scott, if you write it down, Brenda, I'd like to see a copy of the wage scale with the divisions based on the numbers, because I see in the budget that that's something that's being looked at, and I would like to see the dissemination of that sent to council. And that's all I have.
Scott, I've got two things. One, I hate bad mouthing anybody, but I was very disappointed with the company that did the branch pickup. They took the big branches, but they left all the little stuff. And some people, that's all they have is little stuff because, you know, I mean, they just walk around their yard and pick it up. And I had it at my house, and I had it at 7 different customers that I have in the city, where I had to go clean up the mess that they left behind because they were too lazy to rake the rest of the sticks up and throw them in the grinder. If we're gonna pay them to go around and pick up all the sticks, they had to do the job right. And the other thing is, for a future work session, I still think we need to work on the school pickup parking problem. You know, some people don't think it's a problem because it's only for a half an hour every day, but it's a problem. You know, I drove down Elizabeth Street on the wrong side of the road because, for a block, because all the cars were parked on the road, and got halfway down and somebody came from the other direction and came at me and pulled up in front of me and stopped and flipped me off and told me to get off the road. I was on that block of the road first. They should have never come down the road to begin with. But the problem isn't that person in particular. The problem is the people parking on the road. It shouldn't be allowed, period. It's just my opinion, and I think it definitely needs to go to a work session. If the school doesn't care about it, I think the city needs to put up signs that say no stopping, standing, or parking, period. And that'll eliminate the problem as long as we enforce it. So I just want to get my opinion out there, and it's definitely something that's an accident waiting to happen. That's all I have.
Steve?
Yeah, two things. One, they patched Benston Road from Warner to the city limits, and I think they really did a good job. I mean, it's obviously doesn't take the place of the road needing to be resurfaced, but it really helped a lot. I mean, most of the time, driving down that road, you'd see people weaving all over the road or driving down the middle of the road to avoid the bumps. But they did a good job of of fixing most of the holes in the road. I appreciate that. The other thing has already been brought up, and that's that parade, car parade. I think that it's a mistake to do what they're doing. I think there's a lot of towns in the area, and somebody mentioned this on Facebook too, that would be glad to have this parade, like Muskegon or maybe Shelby or who knows where. But I think there's got to be a way to have that parade, because without the parade, you're going to lose 60 to 70% of the people who would have participated, and now I don't believe they'll show up for just a car show in downtown Montague. Some will, but probably going to lose over half of the people. I think it's a mistake to do that, so that's my opinion. I mean, you're going to have some people that break the law. There's always people that break the law. That's why we have police. So if they're doing stuff they shouldn't be doing, then they should get a ticket or whatever. But I think that's a mistake, because you're going to lose, and people are, businesses are going to lose customers too, because of all the people that come to town for that. And that's just my opinion on it. Thanks.
Okay. Update on the dock that's being installed down at Goodrich Park. Things are coming along very well with that. They're on schedule to be done by they said the 24th for, I guess, 98% of it. Looking forward, a lot of people are looking forward to seeing that dock being back. Also, I sit on the TIFA board, as you all know, and today I received a design concept for the West Colby Promenade. This is the name that Prime Newhoff is calling it, West Colby Promenade. It's to take place of what is there now, including the Big John's location. It's a very impressive layout. I would ask that TIFA would forward that design to all the council members so they can see that. This is something I received today. I posted it out on my personal Facebook page. I think it's a great idea. I'd love to see it. I'm sure we'll have plenty of discussion on it. I'd like to hear from the public, from council. I think it's a good thing. With that, unless anyone has any further comments?
I got one more question.
Yes.
Brenda, I don't know if you know, do the Marina lights down, or the lights down in the Goodrich Park parking area, are those on a timer, or are they just not up to working yet?
That I do not know, but I can
Yeah,
definitely check.
I just say if they're on a timer, we probably just ought to let them burn all night.
Didn't they just replace all that?
I don't know if the ones that go out from the park are working, because Steve, I mean, I went down there the other night and looked. Steve made a comment that they were up, but I don't know if the ones sitting between the water and the parking lot are working yet, or if they're still in process. Because they weren't on the other night.
I think there's an electrical issue with those.
Okay, that's what I kind of figured. So, and I hope once we get them done, they burn all night, because it's easier for the guys to see driving by if there's somebody goofing around down there. So.
Okay. With that, we will move on to the next public comment. Once again, if you want to make a public comment, step up to the podium, give your name, and 3 minutes to make a comment.
Hello, my name is, that's always okay. My name is Jen Hain. I am co-owner of Fetch at 100 West Colby Street. And I just wanted to present to the council an opportunity that's coming up. We have a very popular Monday night fan club event that has become extremely popular both in the community and has drawn people in. It's very visible. It's music outside on the sidewalk at Fetch. The opportunity is there to expand from Monday 7 to 10 p.m. To allow for more space because of the popularity of the event. The expansion that we would have in mind would be closing off the front portion, just that block, just like you would for a parade, and then at the end of the sidewalks. So there would still be full access to the parking lot. We could accommodate signage, etc. This would run from Memorial Day to Labor Day, Mondays from 7 to 10 p.m. A great opportunity to assist an already popular Monday evening event during the summertime. We are a free event. We are a family-oriented event. We've always said that we are a community gathering space, and that the Monday nights from 7 to 10 p.m. exemplify the fact that this is a community gathering space. We have kids playing, enjoying their time with their parents, grandparents, etc. So yeah, I would just like that to be considered as an option, so that we could continue to show what we have to offer to our community and others. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I ask for clarification?
Yeah.
So Jen, you're talking about the right turn lane?
No,
Intersection
so we're,
between Bell's.
yeah, between Bell's
And Fetch.
and Fetch.
Okay, so
So
you're
that block.
essentially North Mears. Okay.
Yep,
Okay,
that block.
I got you. Okay.
But stopping at the end of the sidewalk
Okay. Yep, I got
that
it.
goes along Bell's.
Looking at a map. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Jen, I have a question too.
Sorry.
Would you put up seating in that area, or is
We-
that just overflow?
We could, I mean, that would be fantastic. It, I mean, my first thing that I wanted to do was just the ask in general, but seating would be wonderful. The opportunity for, we've had pop-up shops, you know, people have sold their vintage clothing there. There'd be an opportunity for other businesses, Posh, whoever wants to come in, and, you know, since it would be a closed-off space to do pop-up shops, we'd love to be able to expand it to whoever is interested in additionally taking advantage of that opportunity.
And just to follow up,
Yeah.
do you know, is Mylan's open or closed on Mondays?
Mylan's, as far as I know, is open on Mondays, and the initial conversation was that they are very welcoming to this and supportive of this, and we would also accommodate signage both on the road, how to get to Mylan's, as well as how on Facebook. So we are interested in assisting all businesses. Our kitchen is now open. Our kitchen will, at Fetch Eats it's called, that kitchen will be open on Mondays, which further accommodates, you know, families and people of all ages. And even though we have an open kitchen, we still remain food friendly, which means that people can go to Mylan's. And if this opportunity was there, they could eat Mylan's there. They could eat, you know, any food that they brought in from home or any of our wonderful restaurants in the area. So this is truly a community event that has become very popular that we want to accommodate further.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Anyone else?
Test.
Always one in the crowd.
Yeah, that's how I was raised. I went to Whitehall schools. My name's Tom Foster. I am a musician, which a lot of people usually scoff and laugh at, but I've been a professional musician for 34 years. And part of this, I want to thank Jen for asking. I want to echo her ask in the idea that my experience with working there the last couple of years has been it's been a really eye-opening opportunity, and it's nice to have stuff happening downtown. I remember years ago when I moved back from the Detroit area, getting online parking or street parking just to kind of slow down traffic in the idea of a community-based thing. So I echo her sentiments. I will entertain any questions for you about what I do, but I provide musicians coming in a variety of places in and out of, I have some out-of-state musicians coming in this year. And I grew up in this area, grew up in local church, and my mom and dad were both very active here. So my tack on this is that it's it's most interesting to me to provide a good space and an additional wonderful thing that happens in the downtown area. It kind of keeps the mix going here, so. And I like to sing Johnny Cash songs to people, so.
I like to hear 'em.
Yeah, so I keep it close, so, thank you. If there are any questions, I can be reached easily via Facebook, or Steve, I think you'd be happy to pass my number on, or
Certainly.
Jeff will run into you at the grocery store. Sorry.
I would just echo that, if it's Monday, and if at all possible, Memorial Day to Labor Day, I am there. And mostly, I mean, the beer's good, I like the beer, but mostly as Tommy and the fan club, those guys, and your beer is good, Jen, sorry, it was just a joke, but, no, it is, we have a lovely treasure of musicians that come there, and if you haven't been there, it's just amazing, so.
Yes.
Something we can get on the next agenda then?
I would like to see
We'll
that.
do that.
Perfect. Is there anyone else? Yes, Tom?
Can I just add,
Sure.
This is my first time speaking, so I'd like to see. I see people from all over vacationing coming in, and it's a strong indicator that that they're a good gathering spot. And I'm also just glad to have a bookmarked window from Memorial Day to Labor Day, so we're not intruding. And I think when I asked Jen and Dan a few years ago, my vision was, in the next few years, what could happen in the downtown area in the summertime, because kind of restoring this touristy thing, but not overdoing it, but kind of being well balanced and interesting. It would be nice to have music somewhere else on a Monday, and you have a little competition, a little friendly competition, but where you have multiple things to do. So, to me, my community-minded guess is that any community that has more than 10 or so different things going on during the week is a healthier community. So this has been a good thing, and I think I haven't. If there are negatives, I'd love to hear them, and I'd be happy to address them. So as an advocate to your community, even though I live in Fruitland Township now, so. Okay.
Thank you very much.
All right, I'll shut up now.
All right. Old business?
Anyone else?
Anyone? Yeah.
He said Johnny Cash, I kind of lose my train of thought. Again, my name is David Hostica. Had we talked to St. Ignace about had the committee talked to St. Ignace about their cruise is like 3 times the size of ours. And there was, of course, no communication there, because we don't want to solve the problems. We just want to shrink the community and focus it on the things that a few of us want to do. My mother, a number of years ago, got involved in your memorial bench program, and she paid the money and was told that it would be maintained by the city. She bought it, and I guess it gets donated to the city. The city takes care of ongoing maintenance. I took it out of there because it was destroyed. And I have the plaque. And I talked to Brian over there, and he said, well, we'll do maintenance, but we don't take care of damage, like impact damage. And I thought, well, what the heck? And I got to thinking about it, and I was like, well, I think it's pretty raw, and I'm not really sure this is where I should address the issue, because, I mean, the Petunia truck pulls up there, and they back up, and I know the mayor drives that sometimes, and he gets a little pie-eyed once in a while, but he backs up and backs into my bench, my parents' bench, my dad's memorial bench. Nobody ever says nothing, and then I'm stuck with the bill to fix the damn thing. They're gonna charge me to make the repairs, to replace the bench. And, I mean, ask Amy, we know there was a Petunia truck that hit the bench. Well, public comment, right? No answer.
Correct.
Thank you.
Anyone else? All right, move on to new business. We have a request for American Legion road closure.
I'll make a motion that we approve the American Legion road closure request as submitted.
I'll second.
It's been seconded. Is there any discussion?
Just have a question. So that's not gonna interfere with any of the construction or anything?
And I would say probably barring whether there is construction going on at the time. I think that's, I don't know what the schedule is at that point on June 1st to see if that's an actual section that they'll be working on.
I would say if there's a conflict,
Oh,
the
yeah, I mean,
road takes priority.
Not likely.
Yeah.
I would agree with you.
Right.
Road, yeah, okay. I just was wondering, as someone who kind of traverses that road.
Yeah.
If that happens, I would assume we could probably move them to Spring Street.
Right.
They're just between Warner and the next block over.
Can we let them know that might be,
Certain.
okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say yes.
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 Opposed say no. We have their approval. Next up is Resolution 2415 State Trunkline Contract.
I will move resolution 24-15, the state trunk line contract 2024-0420.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion?
We're not spending any money, I guess.
No, we get reimbursed for anything that we do
Oh,
on it from the state.
This isn't any different than previous years, or?
Correct, just a routine renewal of that same contract.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else? I believe we have roll call for this.
Yes, Holmstrom,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Signature,
yes.
Kabala,
Yes,
Hildebrand,
Yes,
Zemer,
Yes.
Suffer.
Yes. Resolution 2415 is approved. Next up is Resolution 2416, Budget Amendment Number 2.
I'll make a motion to approve budget amendment number 2, resolution 2416.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion?
Oh.
Yeah, they did, there's a new rule related to that, and it has to be a fair market number. They used to always be for $1, and that, you have to get an appraisal and some things like that. This was different than that, though, and I don't remember the details of how the dollar amount came out. You know, Scott contacted me to write it up at this amount. Was it their sewer that failed? I thought it was, we had to get across their property.
Yeah, it's not, yeah,
I
we
don't think
did.
it's the greenhouses. We had to get across their property to fix for somebody else.
Where does it say $5,000?
And the now therefore line there, after the A and B. Yeah, it's, the city's paying for that.
Okay.
The way I read it anyway is that
Yeah.
we're paying them
They're giving
to
the
get
city an
access to
easement.
fix a
and-
problem for them.
No, it's not.
It's not for them.
No, it's to get across the back of their property. I'm not
Oh,
quite
okay.
sure though who
we're
it's.
paying somebody else to get across
I
there.
know he's been dealing with.
Then it makes
with-
sense.
It's going across somebody else's property so we can fix somebody further down the way. But I
Okay.
don't remember whose problem it was.
It was one of, you all had given emergency approval to Scott a while back. It's one of these
Yeah.
things that's been in the works and it's kind of been on the slow roll, but a while back you actually approved to move forward with that easement.
Yeah.
So this is like the second time we're
So
getting,
whose sewer failed? It says somebody's sewer failed, somebody's system failed.
It says both systems.
Yes, their septic system.
So their septic systems, so 1315 and 1321, their septic systems have failed.
They've had, well, they haven't,
Yeah, they're-
they've had to pump them out.
yeah,
Yes,
they're
yes.
pumping and hauling
They're
out.
functioning, but they
Right.
Functioning.
have to have them pumped out
Correctly.
repeatedly. So that,
Oh, yeah, so that's who failed.
So they-
Right.
so they-
But they're going across
so they probably
1311,
have
they're going across.
non-commercial.
So the
These two.
weed shop and the coffee shop and the ice repair place and all, their septic systems failed.
that's my understanding.
That's what it says right there, yeah.
So why are we giving them $5,000?
We're not giving that, we're giving the neighbor.
To get across to them, Scott.
It's the greenhouse, it's 1311 is the property that's who's given the easement, and that's who's getting paid.
The nursery.
that the nursery? Yeah, I
Yes.
think that's the nursery.
So obviously, the sewer line doesn't come from Peterson, it comes from somewhere on
Right.
White Lake Nursery's property?
Something like that, yeah.
It goes to those, to Peterson Road behind those
Yeah.
businesses.
There's
Probably runs back by the
I don't
apartment,
think so,
Scott.
no.
I'm sure the apartments are hooked in. White Lake Nursery owns property behind 1315 and 1321, all the way out to Peterson. So they're coming from along Peterson, but they're still going through White Lake
Oh, that's
property.
right there, it's like an L.
Yeah,
White Lake Nursery property.
Yeah, it's like an L, so that makes sense.
Yes.
yeah, their property wraps around.
Yep, yep.
Still makes no sense to me why the city should have to spend $5,000 when 1315 and 1321 are the beneficiary. They should both be splitting it at $2,500 apiece. There's no reason for the city to spend $5,000, you know, to fix somebody else's problem. It's just my opinion.
But is it because we're going to have that, we're gonna own that legal easement, which is something of value, right?
Right,
Yes.
yeah.
And which can also be tapped into for further development if somebody decides to develop that property that was split,
Which is likely.
which is likely
Right.
behind. So it's gonna go in one way or the other,
That's likely to
Yes.
assist in that development.
assisting that development or multiple developments back there.
All right, unless there's further discussion, we'll have a roll call, please.
Yeah. Yes, ready, here we go. Siglinda,
Yes.
Holmstrom,
Yes.
Brown,
No,
Kabala,
Yes.
Hillebrand,
Yes.
Zemer,
Yes.
Salter.
Yes. All right, next up is public comment. This would be the point where if there's any students in the audience, they would come up and introduce themselves and let us know.
My name is Jacqueline Stout, and my teacher is Mr. Bronson.
Thank you.
My name is Tamara Horn. I'm a resident in the city of Whitehall. Just wanted to make a quick announcement that this Saturday is electronics recycling from 2 to 4. You can drive up to the Montague Farmers Market, curbside, drop off your stuff, we'll sort it. We'll have volunteers to help. So you can bring those cords that you don't know what they go to anymore, TVs, as long as they're not cathode ray tube, small appliances, nothing huge like a refrigerator or a microwave, and phones and things that are out of date that you don't use anymore. You can also bring household batteries. So, see you there.
Thank
That's
you.
this coming Saturday?
Yep.
Any more students?
My name's Marley Bays, and my teacher is Mr. Brunson.
Thank you very much.
I'm Genevieve Kroll, and my teacher is also Mr. Brunson.
Thank you very much. All right, we're still at public comment. If anyone wants to make a comment, anybody's got anything further to say?
I would like to thank the White Lake Area Climate Action Council. Are you working with the city of Montague?
Mhm.
From the city to do that, because that's an important service for our area.
Yes, it's a wonderful thing. Thank you for doing that. With that, we're adjourned.